Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Arrow episode 10 video. So many new questions, even though we got a whole bunch of big answers. So I'll try to answer everything, as well as explain who the new characters we saw were. Thank you everyone for all the nice comments during my CW Fan Talk appearance. We actually got to meet the writer of last night's Flash episode, and Emily Bett recorded a special message. So if I ever do something like that again, I'll totally let you guys know in one of my videos, just so you can watch it. So just careful for spoilers. I'm going to do a quick rundown of all the new storylines that they teed up, just because those are really important. So we have like character arcs that we need to talk about. We have big moments from the episode, and then we have to talk about like the big running storylines. So in present day, we have storyline number 1 with Team Brick in the Glades. That's going to be part of the Canary trilogy that's happening. Brick is going to be like the final boss that Team Arrow or the new Team Arrow has to defeat. Think of him as like a final boss fight. So they have to fight a bunch of smaller bosses before they get to him. Number 2, we have Flashback Oliver with the China White bioweapon. Number 3, there's Team Merlin, supposedly on the run now, or that's what they're teasing. Number 4, Ray Palmer finishing his Atom suit and testing it out. And then number 5, Oliver in present day being healed by Katana and Maseo. Felicity is kind of floating around in the wind right now, but I think she's going to just bounce back and forth between Team Arrow and Ray Palmer, just like she's been. Okay, so here we go. Top 5 moments. So much to talk about in this episode. But number 5, the new Team Arrow. That opening scene explained everything about what you need to know about the new Team Arrow. I thought he was green. I thought he was supposed to be good. I love that everyone always asks about Diggle putting on a costume, and they stuck him in Oliver's costume. He's worn it before. If you remember back in season 1, when he needed to throw someone off his scent, he would have Diggle dress up as the Arrow so that he could stand next to said person, and they would see, I can't be the vigilante because he's right there and I'm right here. And I know everyone wants to know if he's ever going to get a costume of his own. No, I don't think that Diggle is ever going to wear his own costume. I don't think he's going to be Green Lantern. I think he'll just be Diggle. Like, he's already kind of a superhero. But I do think they'll have a little bit of fun with it, like they did in this episode, where they stick him in other people's costumes. So just for the next couple of episodes, it's just going to be Roy, Diggle, and Black Canary. But for the meantime, the 3 people are just going to be pursuing all those enforcers that got away, until they get to that final boss fight and have to take down Brickwell himself. Number 4, Merlin and Thea need to GTFO. This was actually one of the more confusing parts of the episode. Merlin said they need to get out, obviously because the League of Assassins is still coming for him, because Oliver's death meant that Merlin is still marked for death. So it's really not Thea that's in danger, it's just Merlin, and Merlin wants to keep her close. There was something really important that John Barrowman said in one of the promos that they were posting last week. Family is more important than anything. And when Thea was talking about Oliver, Merlin said, he's family. So that makes me wonder if Merlin is going to get involved with the Oliver plot at some point. One of the funniest lines in the episode, though, is when Thea said, I could have killed you, and Merlin smirks and says, it's cute that you think that would be possible. Mostly it's just him being a badass, but you could build a lot of double meanings into that. But if Oliver is coming back, if he's getting healed back to health, obviously they have some sort of special methods inside the League of Assassins, and Katana has some special skills, so maybe Merlin also has those special skills, which means he's almost unkillable. Number 3, meet Danny Brickwell, aka Brick from the comics. His backstory in the comics is really mysterious. Not a lot is known about him before he showed up in Star City. Yes, he is a metahuman in the comics. He has like super strong skin, so he's almost indestructible. I don't think the Arrow is going to go that direction. I think they'll just explain it that he has like metal plating in his head, something to just make him tougher. I don't think he's going to be a full-blown metahuman on Arrow, even though Arrow is open to doing powers. On the show, he's going to be taking over the Glades, becoming like the new big crime boss of Star City. In the comics, he kind of did the same thing. So after this big event called the Amsterdam Avenue Disaster, it's like the comic book version of The Undertaking from season 1. Malcolm Merlyn and Dr. Light just blow up a bunch of bombs all over Star City. Now that's the comics. Obviously on Arrow, they did that in season 1 with The Undertaking. Just think of him as rising from the ashes of The Undertaking and just grabbing all the territory he could. The way he's explained in the comics is that his rise to power isn't tied to his abilities as a metahuman. They put him forth as this really smart criminal. But you can't put Vinnie Jones in a TV show without letting him punch someone in the face. So there will be a lot of him fighting people. Number 2, Laurel takes the mantle of the Black Canary. I've seen a lot of questions from you guys about powers, how they're going to express, how they're going to deal with her character, how they're going to show her evolving as a fighter. They haven't said anything about metahuman abilities. But I think them showing the canary cry bombs on the table kind of answers that question. So she's not going to get like her canary cry like she has in the comics. And this Canary trilogy is meant to address her getting better as a hero. So she's going to get her butt kicked a lot in these next couple of episodes. Eventually, she'll get a little bit better. It's the same deal with Roy. If you remember in the beginning of the episode, when he was chasing the criminals and they were like, isn't he supposed to be good? Roy is going to mess a lot of stuff up, and so is Black Canary. So it's not like she's going to be a superhero right away. She's going to be more like a cosplay vigilante. I think there's a little bit of confusion about that. Just because she gets a superhero costume doesn't mean that the writers want you to think that she's a superhero. The really funny thing from behind the scenes, though, is that Katie Lotz was actually talking about her taking the mantle, about Laurel taking the mantle. She said that Katie Cassidy's wig was way better than hers. She called her Sarah wig more of like a Dolly Parton wig, which I think is kind of funny. So every time I watch old episodes from season 2 and see Black Canary, I think of Dolly Parton fighting crime. For those of you that are huge Sarah fans and are really sad to see her go, she will be back this season in the Canaries episode. I think that's either episode 12 or 13 in a flashback. She also goes to a ton of conventions, so you can still totally get her autograph and talk to her about how much you loved her. I think it's interesting, though, that Laurel is the one who kind of kicks everyone in the butt and says, are you coming back, Diggle? We have all these people we need to catch. We can't let them get away. So she is going to be the driving force for these next couple of episodes and catching these people. And that person she took down at the end of the episode, that was the person from the trial earlier. And my number one moment, of course, WTF, Oliver wakes up. This was like the biggest surprise of the episode for a number of different reasons. One, that they answered the dead, not dead question so fast. I thought they were going to leave that question hanging for a little bit longer. I'm glad they answered it, but now they have to answer why he's not going back right away. As for the Katana thing, I'll explain this in my thumbs down a little bit. I feel like she's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina right now. I think they had other plans for the character in the first half of the season, but then the actress that was going to play her dropped out. They had to recast her, so I think they had to rewrite a lot of the story. So I think there were a lot of Katana scenes early on that got written out. We barely spent any time with her the first half of the season, and all of a sudden now she's like the most important person in the world. For example, the character that played Ted Grant, Wildcat, he was cast on another show, so they might not be able to bring him back at all this season. And originally it seemed like they had bigger plans for the Wildcat character. Either way, Oliver's alive, and now we get to find out why he doesn't go back right away. That's going to be the most fun thing about this. This is going to be like, how long is he just going to sit there and stew in that cabin? How much longer before he lets his friends know that he's alive? Here's my big question for you guys. How much time do you think is going to go by before Oliver lets his friends know that he's still alive? There's a couple of ways that could go down. He could surprise everyone in like a big hero moment, like in a big fight with Brick or some other big villain. Or 2, someone else could let them know that Oliver's still alive. Okay, so here are the really big character arcs that I think are going to be happening, because some of the characters will be changing quite a bit. Starting off with Roy. So Roy, obviously, we saw him with the drink in that hand. I think he's totally going to go alcoholic. If you remember in the comics, he became a heroin addict. I feel like that is going to be what this storyline is. It's going to be his downward slope. It's even like the Laurel storyline in season 2, where Laurel started popping pills and started drinking too much. I'm hoping that Laurel will actually help save him. It just seems like her being a recovering alcoholic will recognize that happening in someone else, and she'll help them. Laurel, of course, pretty easy to see where her character arc is going. She's going to take the mantle of the Black Canary, learn to be a superhero over X amount of time. It's going to be an ongoing process. I mean, Oliver is still learning to be a superhero, and he's been at it for 5 years longer than any of the other characters. Diggle is going to take more of a leadership role. I mean, he's like the old man on the team now, so naturally he has more experience than all of them. Felicity, kind of blowing in the wind, still waiting to see where she lands, but I do think she'll come back and she'll start helping. And Ray Palmer, of course, going to finish building his Atom suit, then test it out. Merlin and Thea are actually pretty interesting. There have been some pictures of her with like that mystery DJ character, so it sounds like she might not be leaving Starling City, regardless of what Merlin does. I'm really curious to see where their plot will intersect with Team Arrow and the Oliver plot, like off in Nanda Parbat. Family is more important than anything. Just think of that whenever you're thinking of Merlin. And then we have Oliver in present day. Obviously, he's going to heal himself, get better, come back. During that CW fan talk, one of the writers actually said that he might be having some dreams too, so we might get a lot of Oliver dream sequences as he's healing. They also said not all those dreams are going to be good, so he's probably going to be having some crazy nightmares. All the stunts were great, totally amazing. They really gave all the good stunts they would normally give to Stephen Amell to Colton Haynes, so Colton is like the new Stephen Amell in the show, at least until Oliver comes back. There were a couple thumbs down I had. So first was the courtroom scenes. I feel like they don't really need to do courtroom scenes. They could have done those in the police station and just saved time. They wouldn't have had to cast all those extras. They just wanted to set up that moment for the end where Black Canary could take down that criminal from the courtroom scene. And then the Katana plot, which I kind of mentioned, she doesn't really feel like a full character right now. It feels like they didn't spend enough time with her in the first half of the season. I think a lot of that is just due to logistical problems. It's always interesting to see like the plans producers make at the beginning of the season and then see what finally ends up getting shot, like what ends up turning up in the actual episodes. All in all, great episode, strong opener. I like the way they opened this episode and The Flash, like both with people like screaming through the frame, like right as the episode started. So you have like The Flash running right through the frame, and then you had the car just running right through at the beginning of Arrow. So I'll be posting next week's episodes right after the episodes air. I don't have any podcast planned or anything like that, so it'll be more like my normal schedule. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. I will be posting a Q&A for this on Thursday, though, so if you have any specific questions you want me to answer, just leave them in the comments. I also saw some news about Suicide Squad. Supposedly, Jake Gyllenhaal has turned down the role that Tom Hardy dropped out of. That was the Rick Flag character. So any of you who hated the idea of Jake Gyllenhaal in Suicide Squad, it sounds like you won't have to worry. And people asking about my latest Last Airbender episode, because I had to go on the CW Fan Talk today, I had a little less time to get it out, so I'll push that out as soon as possible right after this. And thank you again, everyone that came on and said really nice things in the chat. I saw a lot of like emergency awesome tags, like in the CW Fancast chat. It was really cool. Speaking of that, if you guys want to, you can now submit fan subs on this video. All you have to do is just go into like the subs menu and you can click add. You can add your native language. In case you haven't seen it yet, you can click here for my Flash episode from last night and click here to learn more about what's going to be happening on Arrow this season. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I'll see you guys tonight.